What is your path to Dharma?
Hello, good morning. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Here we are, Path to Dharma podcast. Shannon here. I'm with my beautiful daughter, Shay. Welcome to our channel. It is early this morning. We got up early
Mhm.
for this. It's 5 a.m. where we
Yeah,
are. But we didn't want to miss reading. And world's a little chaotic and crazy right now, all over the place. And I think it's so much um, grounding that I'm feeling when we
oh
do
yeah,
these, when we do this, when we read and we are able to put life in the right perspective, you know?
yeah.
So thank you so much for being here with us. Yeah, anything we want to talk about before we begin here? Anything,
I mean,
Shay?
just hearing what you said, the Srimad Bhagavatam has been like such a zoom out for me, like
Yeah.
reminding me of the bigger picture of life. Sometimes it's easy to get caught up in those minute things that go on from the day to day. And it's like, no, there's something bigger here that
Yeah.
we need to remember and ground ourselves in. So, eternally grateful for Srimad Bhagavatam and Krishna and everybody here who has given us so many beautiful comments
Right.
and knowledge. The community that we're building is so invaluable to me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm ready to read. It's my
Yeah. I
fifth
mean,
we
do you
are.
all, what I'm also finding is that as we're reading these stories, there's people who are watching us that know what's coming up and they know these
Oh,
characters, right? They
hmm
do know these characters, but do they realize how good this is? Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
do they know how amazing this is to us reading it fresh, new, the first time? We don't know any of these people.
Yeah,
We had
it's
to
so
look up who
true.
was Vidura. Do you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
it's like, I wonder, do they know how precious this is and how much I can't even articulate what this
Yeah.
means to me to have this right now in my life.
Yeah.
It's been chaos around me, and this has been saving my life. I feel
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
honestly. So, thank you,
It's like
universe, for sending this my way.
it's like when you give someone a book recommendation of your favorite book and you're like, "Oh, I wish I could read that for the first time again." Like we're
Yes.
capturing live time
Oh,
our first read.
mm,
It's so precious. It's so
it's
precious.
so good. It's so good. It's so good. Okay. Well, having
And
said all that,
it's such a blessing to even just be on YouTube and to be sharing this.
yeah,
You know,
truly.
I know we're not experts. We're not claiming to
No.
be. We're not gurus. We don't want to be, but we are just genuinely in love with Krishna
Yeah.
and in
Yeah.
love um with these stories that are just helping us to spiritually grow and
Yeah.
expand.
And we've been learning about Dhruva Maharaj. And Dhruva,
Mhm.
um, as we know,
Incredible being.
incredible being. And we're about to pick his story back up. Basically, where he was last was he basically returned. He went out into the forest, kind of got enlightened slightly, came back in, and now the whole city is welcoming him back. And the king is
Yeah.
welcoming him back. And we saw his mother welcoming him back. So we're about to see what happens next to Dhruva.
All right. Well, before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one must first offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. In loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact.
Ay, 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 ay. Thank you,
All right.
universe. Mm,
Srimad Bhagavatam, Fourth Canto,
right.
Part 1. We're really getting through it.
We're getting there.
Um, Chapter 10.
Chapter
Dhruva
10.
Maharaja's fight with the Yakshas.
Okay.
This is
Shall we
gonna be a good
begin?
one. Yeah.
Text 1. The great sage Maitreya said, My dear Vidura, after Dhruva Maharaj married the daughter of Prajapati Sumasara, whose name was Brahmi, And two sons named Kalpa and Vatsara were born of her. Okay, well, that answers my question earlier. I was like, does Dhruva grow up? Because there was this
Oh
thing
yeah,
someone said to him about you'll stay youthful forever or whatever.
right.
Vishnu says to him, not someone, Vishnu. So apparently he does grow up. And
But
that's,
maybe that's just like Krishna kind of like looks young forever. He's like
yeah,
what,
yes,
100
right,
and some years old when he goes.
right. But he still looks like a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Text 2. The greatly the greatly powerful Dhruva Maharaj had another wife named Ela, who was the daughter of the demigod Vayu. By her he begot a son named Utkala and a very beautiful daughter.
Dhruva Maharaja's younger brother, Uttama, who was still unmarried, once went on a hunting excursion and was killed by a powerful Yaksa in the Himalayan mountains. Along with him, his mother, Suruchi, also followed the path of her son. She died. Yes, we heard about this last chapter.
Oh yeah, that was foretold.
Remember? It was
To,
foretold. Okay, so
yeah.
this happens right away in
Yeah.
this one.
When Dhruva Maharaj heard of the killing of his brother Uttama by the Yaksas in the Himalayan mountains, being overwhelmed with lamentation and anger, he got on his chariot and went out for victory over the city of the Yaksas, Alakapuri.
Dhruva Maharaj went to the northern direction of the Himalayan range. In a valley, he saw a city full of ghostly persons who were followers of Lord Shiva.
Oh.
We've heard that about
Maitreya
that. Shiva.
continued. My dear Vidura, as soon as Dhruva Maharaj reached Alakapuri, he immediately blew his conch shell, and the sound reverberated throughout the entire sky in every direction. The wives of the Yaksas became very much frightened. From their eyes, it was apparent that they were full of anxiety.
O hero Vidura, the greatly powerful heroes of the Yaksas, unable to tolerate the resounding vibration of the conch shell of Dhruva Maharaja, came forth from their city with weapons and attacked Dhruva.
Dhruva Maharaj, who was a great charioteer and certainly a great bowman also, immediately began to kill them by simultaneously discharging arrows 3 at a time.
When the heroes of the Yaksas saw that all their heads were being thus threatened by Dhruva Maharaja, they could very easily understand their awkward position, and they concluded that they would certainly be defeated. But as heroes, they lauded the action of Dhruva.
What does
Interesting.
lauded mean?
They like praised it. So maybe it's like they
Sure.
um it's like when you meet a powerful enemy and you give respect to the enemy, like, ah, this is a good
Yeah.
one. It's like
Yeah.
that. Like
Yeah.
this is gonna be a good fight.
Yeah. Just like serpents who cannot tolerate being trampled upon by anyone's feet, the Yaksas, being intolerant of the wonderful prowess of Dhruva Maharaj, threw twice as many arrows, 6 from each of their soldiers, and thus they very valiantly exhibited their prowess.
The Yaksa soldiers were 130,000 strong,
Wow.
all greatly angry and all desiring to defeat the wonderful activities of Dhruva Maharaj. With full strength, they showered upon Maharaja Dhruva, along with his chariot and charioteer, various types of feathered arrows. Parigas? Okay, I'm just going to read the
Yeah.
bludgeons, swords, tridents, lances, pikes, and spears, and Busandi weapons.
Dhruva Maharaj was completely covered by an incessant shower of weapons, just as a mountain is covered by incessant rainfall.
All the cities from the higher planetary systems were observing the fight from the sky. And when they saw Dhruva Maharaja had been covered by the incessant arrows of the enemy, they roared tumultuously. The grandson of Manu, Dhruva, is now lost. They cried that Dhruva Maharaj was just like the sun, and now he'd been set with the ocean of the Yaksas. So they're like,
Wow.
they're coming for him. They're worried
The
about him.
Yak yeah. The Yaksas, being temporarily victorious, exclaimed that they had conquered Dhruva Maharaj, but in the meantime, Dhruva's chariot suddenly appeared, just as the sun suddenly appears from within foggy mist.
Okay, you know what this reminds me of weirdly? Because I have all
Oh,
these weird pop references. There's this
yeah.
scene in the second Matrix movie where Neo, our main character, is fighting like dozens and dozens of Agent Smiths. Okay, all these
Oh,
agents are
yep,
like
yep, yep.
attacking him at once. And there's this scene where they all launch on top of him, and it looks like they got him. And then suddenly, poof, like he bursts out or whatever, and they all go flying. So this is what this reminds me of. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Sorry.
yep.
Okay. Dhruva Maharaja's bow and arrows twanged and hissed, causing lamentation in the hearts of his enemies. Sure. He began to shoot incessant arrows, shattering all their different weapons just as the blasting wind scatters the assembled clouds in the sky.
The sharp arrows released from the bow of Dhruva Maharaj pierced the shields and bodies of the enemies, like the thunderbolts released by the King of Heaven, which dismantled the bodies of the mountains.
The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, the heads of those who were cut to pieces by the arrows of Dhruva Maharaj were decorated very beautifully with
Mm.
earrings and turbans. The legs of their bodies were as beautiful as golden palm trees. Their arms were decorated with golden bracelets and armlets, and on their heads there were very valuable helmets bedecked with gold. All these ornaments lying on that battlefield were very attractive and could bewilder the mind of a hero. Interesting.
The remaining Yakshas, who somehow or other were not killed, had their limbs cut to pieces by the arrows of the great warrior Dhruva Maharaj. Thus they began to flee, just as elephants flee when defeated by a lion.
Dhruva Maharaj, the best of the human beings, observed that in the great battlefield, not one of the opposing soldiers was left standing with proper weapons. He then desired to see the city of Alakapuri, but he thought to himself, no one knows the plans of the mystic Yakshas.
In the meantime, while Dhruva Maharaj, doubtful of his mystic enemies, was talking with his charioteer, they heard a tremendous sound, as if the whole ocean were there, and they found that from the sky a great dust storm was coming over them from all directions.
Within a moment, the whole sky was overcast with dense clouds and severe thundering was heard. There was glittering electric lightning and severe rainfall.
Wow.
What's happening?
My dear, faultless Vidura, in that rainfall there was blood, mucus, pus, stool, urine, and marrow falling heavily before Dhruva Maharaj, and there were trunks of bodies falling from the sky.
Ew, yikes.
Didn't this happen one time before? Didn't wasn't there wasn't all this stuff raining from the sky before?
I don't know. I was
I feel
just
like it
wondering about
was.
that.
I feel like it was.
Um, Next, a great mountain was visible in the sky, and from all directions hailstones fell, along with lances, clubs, swords, iron
Hmm.
bludgeons, and great pieces of stone.
Dhruva Maharaj also saw many big serpents with angry eyes, vomiting forth fire and coming to devour him, along with the groups of mad elephants, lions, and tigers.
Then, as if it were the time of the dissolution of the whole world, the fierce sea with foaming waves and great roaring sounds came forward before him.
The demon Yakshas are by nature very heinous, and by their demonic power of illusion, they can create many strange
Okay.
phenomena to frighten one who is less intelligent.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, this is an illusion. I know it. I know it.
Yeah.
Okay. When the great sages heard that Dhruva Maharaj was overpowered by the illusory mystic tricks of the demons, they immediately assembled to offer him auspicious encouragement. Yes.
All the sages said, Dear Dhruva, O son of King Uttanapada, may the Supreme Personality of Godhead, known as Sarnagad Sarnagadavan,
Sar-
sorry, I'm butchering that.
Sargandava?
Yes. Who relieves the distress of his devotees, kill all your threatening enemies. The holy name of the Lord is as powerful as the Lord himself. Therefore, simply by chanting and hearing of the holy name of the Lord, many men can be fully protected from fierce death without difficulty. Thus, a devotee is saved.
I literally have been using that lately, truly to save myself.
I
I
have
truly
literally,
have. I
I was
truly
just
have.
thinking that. I was
I
just
truly
thinking that.
have. Just start chanting Hare Krishna to myself. Like,
Yeah,
oh, okay. All right.
yeah.
We got to keep going because
Oh, yeah, for sure.
chapter 11, Svayambhuva Manu advises Dhruva Maharaj to stop fighting. Okay.
Remind me who
Manu?
Svayambhuva is. Yeah. Oh,
Manu. Yeah. Manu.
okay.
He's, yeah.
But
Let's
when
look
did
in the
we
back.
learn?
Actually, we're going to look in the back because we keep doing that and then we look it up
Mm-mm-mm.
on random places. And I'm going to read who is Manu Sukambaya. Okay. Just to remind ourselves. Trusty index in the back.
The Manu who appears first in Brahma's day and who was the grandfather of Dhruva Maharaj.
Okay. His grandfather,
Svayambhuva Manu.
Manu.
Okay.
Sri Maitreya, okay, text 1. We're on chapter 11. Sri Maitreya said, My dear Vidura, when Dhruva Maharaj heard the encouraging words of the great sages, he performed the akmana by touching water. Interesting.
Oh,
Touching water, and then took up his arrow made by Lord Narayan and fixed it upon his bow.
what's Akamana? Let's look that up
Yeah,
too.
what
Why
is
not?
that? Akamana? I'll,
Mm. The ritual of purification in which one sips water and simultaneously chants names of the Supreme Lord.
oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Should we be sipping water when we're chanting? Trying to protect ourselves? Maybe. Maybe. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
As soon as Dhruva Maharaj joined the Narayanastra arrow to his bow, the illusion created by the Yakshas was immediately vanquished.
Mm.
Just as all material pains and pleasures are vanquished when one becomes fully cognizant of the self.
This is the gems that I love in this book. Okay. Okay. Even as Dhruva Maharaj fixed the weapon made by Narayan Rishi onto his bow, arrows with golden shafts and feathers like the wings of a swan flew out of it. They entered the enemy soldiers with a great hissing sound, just as a peacock enters the forest with tumultuous crowing. Beautiful.
Those sharp arrows dismayed the enemy soldiers, who became almost unconscious, but various Yakshas on the battlefield, in a rage against Dhruva Maharaj, somehow or other collected their weapons and attacked. Just as serpents agitated by Garuda rushed towards Garuda with upraised hoods, all the Yaksha soldiers prepared to overcome Dhruva Maharaj with their upraised weapons.
When Dhruva Maharaj saw the Yakshas coming forward, he immediately took his arrows and cut the enemies to pieces. Separating their arms, legs, heads, and bellies from their bodies, he delivered the Yakshas to the planetary system, which is situated above the sun globe and which is attainable only by first-class brahmacharis who have never discharged their semen.
Wow.
Is so interesting. What? What?
Huh.
Like, what?
You
Okay.
know, and again, we're seeing a battle that is put forth due to Dharma,
Mm.
no doubt. And it can't be an easy choice, to go and like slay all these things, all
Yeah.
these demons, or like that's not, that can't be like an easy choice. But again, somebody like rises above and moves forward.
Yeah.
When Svayambhuva Manu saw his grandson Dhruva Maharaj was killing so many of the Yakshas who were not actual defenders, out of his great compassion, he approached Dhruva with great sages to give him good instruction.
It says the Yakshas who were not actually offenders, not
Oh, oh,
defender,
oh, oh, oh.
offenders, because actually only one of them killed his brother. So I think that's
Right,
really
right,
what
right.
he's talking about. Lord Manu said, My dear son, please stop. It is not good to become unnecessarily
Mm,
angry. It is the path to hellish life. Now that you are going beyond the limits by killing Yakshas who are actually not offenders.
mm.
Okay. That's when you start to burn it down, and then you go past the person you were actually having a problem with and you start to burn everything down around you. Wow, who hasn't been in there?
Yep, yep. It's a good reminder.
Yeah.
My dear son, the killing of the sinless Yakshas which you have undertaken is not at all approved by authorities, and it does not befit our family, which is supposed to know the laws of religion and irreligion.
My dear son, it has been proved that you are very much affectionate towards your brother and are greatly aggrieved at his being killed by the Yaksas. But just consider, for one Yaksa offense, you have killed many others who are innocent.
One should not accept the body as the self and thus, like the animals, kill the bodies of others. This is especially forbidden by saintly persons who follow the path of devotional service to the supreme personality of Godhead.
It is very difficult to achieve the spiritual abode of Hari in the Vaikuntha planets, but you are so fortunate that you are already determined to go to that abode by worshiping him as the supreme abode of all living entities. Yeah, we already know he's going to The planet.
the pole star or
Right. The
whatever.
pole star planet. Yeah. The pole star planet. Anyway.
Yeah. Because you are a pure devotee of the Lord is always thinking of you, and you are also recognized by all his confidential devotees. Your life is meant for exemplary
Hmm.
behavior. I am therefore surprised. Why have you undertaken such an abominable task?
The Lord is very satisfied with his devotee when the devotee greets other people with tolerance, mercy, friendship, and equality.
One who actually satisfies the Supreme Personality of Godhead during one's lifetime becomes liberated from the gross and subtle material conditions. Thus, being freed from all material modes of nature, he achieves unlimited spiritual bliss. And
This is,
I'm just thinking, like, remember after he was approached by Vishnu, he was saying, he was like really discouraged in himself for thinking what he was thinking about his
yes,
stepmom, and it was his
right.
stepmom and his brother who were both killed out in the forest. So maybe that has something to do with it.
Well, I mean, he is a human.
Right.
Yet.
Right.
So you do get caught up in this stuff. You do.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
get it. I get it. Okay, the creation of the material world begins with the five elements, and thus everything, including the body of a man and woman, is created of these elements. By the sexual life of man and woman, the number of men and women in this material world is further increased.
Manu continued, My king, my dear King Dhruva, it is simply by the illusory material energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and by the interactions of the three modes of material nature that creation, maintenance, and annihilation take place.
My dear Dhruva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is uncontaminated by the material
Mm.
modes of nature. He is the remote cause of the creation of this material cosmic manifestation. When he gives the impetus, many other causes and effects are produced, and thus the whole universe moves, just as iron moves by the integrated force of a magnet. Mm.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, by his inconceivable supreme energy, time, causes the interaction of the three modes of material nature, and thus varieties of energy become manifest. It appears that he is acting, but he is not the actor. He is killing, but he is not the killer. Thus it is understood that only by his inconceivable power is everything happening.
It is kind of hard to wrap your mind around that idea
It
that we are all part of the universe and that everything that's happening is actually divinely
guided,
guided. Yeah.
scripted, maybe.
Yeah, right. Maybe. Who knows? My dear Dhruva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is ever existing, but in the form of time, he is the killer of everything. He has no beginning, although he is the beginning of everything. Not he, okay, he is the beginning of everything, nor is he ever exhaustible, though everything is exhausted in due course of time.
Mm,
The living entities are created through the agency of the Father and killed through the agency of death, but he is perpetually free of birth and death.
mm.
Yeah.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead and his feature of eternal time is present in the material world and is neutral towards everyone. No one is his ally and no one is his enemy. Within the
Mm.
jurisdiction of the time element, everyone enjoys or suffers the result of his own karma or fruit of action activities. As when the wind blows, small particles of dust fly in the air, so, according to one's particular karma, one suffers or enjoys material life.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, is all powerful, and he awards the results of one's fruitive activities. Thus, although one living entity's duration of life is very small, whereas that of another is very great, he is always in his transcendental position, and there is no question of lessening or increasing his duration of life.
The differentiation among varieties of life and their suffering and enjoyment is explained by some to be the result of karma. Others say it is due to nature, others due to time, others due to fate, and still others say that it is due to desire.
The absolute truth, transcendent, is never subject to the understanding of imperfect sensory endeavor, nor is he subject to direct experience. He is the master of varieties of energies, like the full material energy, and no one can understand his plans or actions. Therefore, it should be concluded that although he is the original cause of all causes, no one can know him by mental speculation. Yeah. How can we know the universe? Are you frozen or, oh, Shay's frozen over here. So I'm going to keep going to text 24 until she comes back. My dear son, text 24. My dear son, those Yaksas who are the descendants, you froze, so I went on to text 24.
Okay.
My dear son, those Yaksas who are the descendants of Kurava are not actually the killers of your brother. The birth and death of every living entity are caused by the Supreme, who is
Mm.
certainly the cause of all causes. It's that thing that Sri Narada said about people come together or separated by the divine will of Krishna. Like,
Yeah.
that's the
Period.
thing. Period. Yeah.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead creates his material world, maintains it, and annihilates it in due course of time. But because he is transcendental to such activities, he is never affected by ego in such action or by the modes of material nature.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the supersoul of all living entities. He is the controller and maintainer of everyone. Through the agency of his external energy, he creates, maintains, and annihilates everyone. Yep.
My dear boy Dhruva, please surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the ultimate goal of the progress of the world. Everyone, including the demigods, headed by Lord Brahma, is working under his control, just as a bull, prompted by a rope in its nose, is controlled by its
Mm.
owner.
This is like good, this is a good reminder,
Yeah.
honestly. My dear Dhruva, at the age of only 5 years, you were grievously afflicted by the words of your mother's co-wife, and you very boldly gave up the protection of your mother and went into the forest to engage in the yogic process for realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As a result of this, you have already achieved the topmost position in all the three worlds.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
dear Dhruva, please therefore turn your attention to the Supreme Person, who is the infallible Brahman. Face the Supreme Personality of Godhead in your original position, and thus, by self-realization, you will find this material differentiation to be merely flickering. Ah, what a good reminder. What a good
Seriously, it's
reminder.
just an
What a good
illusion. This is just
reminder.
an illusion,
What a good
right?
reminder.
Vishnu's in charge. Thus regaining your natural position and rendering service unto the Supreme Lord, who is the all-powerful reservoir of all pleasure and who lives in all living entities as the super soul, you will very soon forget the illusory understanding of I and my.
Look at this.
Ugh,
Even Dhruva, who has been
even
enlightened,
Dhruva.
he forgot too.
Seriously, he had Vishnu right in front of him, touching his conch shell to his third eye, and even he gets caught up in the illusion. Wow.
My dear king, just consider what I have said to you, which will act as medicinal treatment upon disease. Control your anger, for anger is the foremost enemy on the path of spiritual realization. I wish all good fortune for you. Please follow my instructions.
I mean, I need to remember where this is in this
Yeah,
book for when I get angry.
yeah,
Ay, ay, ay.
yeah.
Okay, a person who desires liberation from this material world should not fall should not fall under the control of anger, because when bewildered by anger, one becomes a source of dread for all others.
Oh,
Yeah, that's it. That's what it is.
I had this thing happen to me this weekend, and it has followed me. I've been angry about it at least once a day since. About
Okay.
a situation that literally has nothing to do with me. It doesn't affect me
Mm,
directly at all. It was just a byproduct of what's going on in somebody else's life.
yeah,
Um, and even while I was angry, I was reflecting on like why am I angry? I shouldn't be I shouldn't
yeah,
be angry. But it was like it felt like justice warrior
totally.
stuff.
Completely,
But
completely.
this is just reminding me that like what does anger do though? What does anger do?
In some ways, what it does is it creates all those demons to create the illusions to come at you.
Right, right.
It's almost like you create that in some ways, your
Hmm.
own self. And next thing you know, you're in a massive battle and they're
Right,
coming for you. And you're
right,
like, why are they coming at me? But actually, you, like literally, in your anger, initiates a lot of that. And that doesn't mean things that happen that make you angry or injustices. You shouldn't feel something. But I guess what this is telling us is like perspective, perspective,
Yeah.
perspective. Like, no, there's no need to worry. Like Narada always says, he like floats in, he's like, hey, no one worry because like Vishnu's got this. And like everything that's happening is supposed to happen. So this is almost like this trick that we get stuck in. We get stuck, we get tricked by anger. Okay, where are we?
Well, let's remember this as we are on election day today,
Seriously, seriously. This is
right?
perfect that this is happening right now because
Yeah.
I feel it's about to get wild up in America here. So,
Yeah.
okay, text 30.
33.
Is it me or you?
You.
Okay. My dear Dhruva, you thought that the Yakshas killed your brother, and therefore you have killed great numbers of them. But by this action you have agitated the mind of Lord Shiva's brother Kurava, who is the treasurer of the demigods. Please note that your actions have been very disrespectful to Kurava and Lord Shiva. E. Yikes. So they got like a black mark in their book. It's like
Yeah. I have Spruce here. He's staring in my eyes as we read this. I'm like, yeah, you hear it loud and clear, Sprucey.
Yeah.
For this reason, my son, you should immediately pacify Kuvera
Kuvera. I was saying
with
Kurava. That was wrong.
Kuvera
Kuvera.
with gentle words and prayers, and thus his wrath may not affect our family.
Yeah. Thus, Svayambhuva Manu, after giving instructions to Dhruva Maharaja, his grandson, received respectful obeisances from him. Then Lord Manu and the great sages went back to their respective homes. Wow. And that ends that chapter. Wow. So,
Oh, did we just do this other one?
I mean, I feel like it. Do you have time?
Okay. Yes. Let's
Okay,
just stay on
let's do it.
task.
Let's do it. Chapter 12. Dhruva Maharaj goes back to Godhead. Yeah, we have to see what happens here.
Yeah.
We have to.
The great sage Maitreya said, My dear Vidura, Dhruva Maharaj's anger subsided and he completely ceased killing Yakshas. When Kuvera, the most blessed master of the treasury, learned this news, he appeared before Dhruva. While being worshipped by Yakshas, Kinnaras, and Karanas, he spoke to Dhruva Maharaj, who stood before him with folded hands.
The master of the treasury, Kuvera, said, O sinless son of a Kshatriya, I am very glad to know that under the instruction of your grandfather, you have given up your enmity, although it is very difficult to avoid. I am very pleased with you.
Actually, you have not killed the Yakshas, nor have they killed your brother, for the ultimate cause of generation and annihilation is the eternal time feature of the Supreme Lord.
Yeah. Okay. Misidentification of oneself and others as I and you on the basis of the bodily concept of life is the product of ignorance. This bodily concept is the cause of repeated birth and death and makes us go on continuously in material existence. It's true. It's like even after death, do we lose the me and the my and the I? Not necessarily, not necessarily.
Right.
So this is one of our goals as a soul is to come to that. I feel like
Yeah.
that realization.
My dear Dhruva, come forward. May the Lord always grace you with good fortune. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is beyond our sensory perception, is the supersoul of all living entities, and thus all entities are one, without distinction. Begin, therefore, to render service unto the transcendental form of the Lord, who is the ultimate shelter of all living entities.
Engage yourself fully, therefore, in the devotional service of the Lord, for only He can deliver us from this entanglement of materialistic existence. Although the Lord is attached to His material potency, He is aloof from her activities. Everything in this material world is happening by the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
My dear Dhruva Maharaj, son of Maharaj Uttanapada, we have heard that you are constantly engaged in transcendental loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known for his lotus navel. You are therefore worthy to take all benediction from us. Please, therefore, ask without hesitation whatever benediction you want from me.
The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, when thus asked to accept a benediction from Kuvera and Yaksaraja, king of the Yakshas, Dhruva Maharaja, the most elevated, pure devotee who was an intelligent and thoughtful king, begged that he might have unflinching faith in remembrance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For thus a person can cross the ocean of nescience very easily, although it is very difficult for others to cross. It's so true. I've been having these crazy dreams lately where I keep having to let go and fall into the air. And I had another one last night where I literally am hanging off a cliff and I have to drop. And I think I've told you this,
Yeah.
I was dreaming and I was falling through the air and I said to myself, I'm pretty sure this is a dream, but if it isn't, I'm fine. Like Vishnu's got me. Look at Sprucey. I swear.
I think that's because I think he's chewing something up that he shouldn't be chewing up.
Is that what he's doing? Anyway, I feel like the lesson I'm supposed to be getting is about surrender. Again, I had another one where I jumped off this cliff and I was like floating. I was like, wow, what is this? Like the universe is trying to tell me something.
For
yeah,
sure.
What's Bruce manifesting right now?
Something is chewed up in the corner of the rug right there, and I don't know what it is, but it doesn't look spooky. Text 9? Is that where are we on text 9?
Yeah, we're on text 9. No, we're on text 8.
Isn't that just hilarious?
No, it's
just
hilarious. It's good. It's so good.
It's hilarious.
Because it's like Sprucey is us right now.
He is. He is.
He's all of us right now, chewing up something in the corner.
Yep.
Am I in trouble?
Yeah. Yep. Telling on himself.
Yep.
The son of Davida, Lord Kuvera, was very pleased and happily he gave Dhruva Maharaj the benediction he wanted. Thereafter, he disappeared from Dhruva's presence, and Dhruva Maharaj returned to his capital city.
As long as he remained at home, Dhruva Maharaj performed many great ceremonial sacrifices in order to please the enjoyer of all sacrifices, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prescribed ceremonial sacrifices are especially meant to please Lord Vishnu, who is the objective of all such sacrifices and who awards the resultant benedictions.
Dhruva Maharaj rendered devotional service unto the Supreme, the reservoir of everything, with unrelenting force. While carrying out his devotional service to the Lord, he could see that everything is situated in him only, and that he is situated in all living entities. The Lord is called Achyuta because he never fails in his prime duty to give protection to his devotees.
Dhruva Maharaj was endowed with all godly qualities. He was very respectful to the devotees of the Supreme Lord and very kind to the poor and innocent, and he protected religious principles. With all these qualifications, he was considered to be the direct father of all the citizens.
Wow. Dhruva Maharaj ruled over this planet for 36,000 years. He diminished the reactions of pious activities by enjoyment, and by practicing austerities, he diminished inauspicious reactions.
We need that right now. The self-controlled great soul Dhruva Maharaj thus passed many, many years favorably executing 3 kinds of worldly activities, namely religiosity, economic development, and satisfaction of all material desires. Thereafter, he handed over the charge of the royal throne to his son.
I have to pause for a moment and see what he was just chewing, because now he's like throwing up in the corner or something.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
Chewed up a pen.
Okay. Yeah, he knew. He's like, yeah, I'm not supposed to be doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, sorry about that. Can you reread that one? Actually, I was distracted.
Where was I?
Text 14, I think.
The self-controlled great soul Dhruva Maharaj thus passed many, many years favorably executing 3 kinds of worldly activities, namely religiosity, economic development, and satisfaction of all material desires. Thereafter, he handed the charge of the royal throne to his son.
Srila Dhruva Maharaj realized that this cosmic manifestation bewilders living entities like a dream, or how do I say this word?
Phantasmagoria. There's a word.
Phantasmagoria, because it is a
Wow.
creation of the illusory, external energy of the Supreme Lord.
I need to work that into conversation. Phantasmagoria. This
That's
is
a good one.
Phantasmagoria.
Hmm.
Thus, Dhruva Maharaj at the end left his kingdom, which extended all over the earth and was bounded by the great oceans. He considered his body, his wives, his children's, his friends, his armies, his rich treasury, his very comfortable palaces, and his many enjoyable pleasure grounds to be creations of the illusory
Mm.
energy. Thus, in due course of time, he retired to the forest in the Himalayas known as Badara- Badaraksama. I'm sure I
Of
said that.
course. In Badaraksarama, Dhruva Maharaja's senses became completely purified because he
Mm.
bathed regularly in the crystal clear purified water. He fixed his sitting position and by yogic practice controlled the breathing process and the air of life. In this way, his senses were completely withdrawn. Then he concentrated his mind on the Acharya Vigraha, form of the Lord, which is the exact replica of the Lord, and thus, meditating upon him, entered into complete trance.
Because of his transcendental bliss, incessant tears flowed from his eyes. His heart melted. There was shivering and standing of the hairs all over his body. Thus, transformed in a trance of devotional service, Dhruva Maharaj completely forgot his bodily existence, and thus he immediately became liberated from material bondage.
Hmm.
Beautiful.
As soon as the symptoms of his liberation were manifest, he saw a very beautiful airplane coming down from the sky, as if the brilliant full
Wow.
moon were coming down, illuminating in all 10 directions.
Dhruva Maharaj saw two very beautiful associates of Lord Vishnu in the plain. They had four hands and a blackish bodily luster. They were very youthful, and their eyes were just like reddish lotus flowers. They held
Wow.
clubs in their hands, and they were dressed in very attractive garments with helmets and were decorated with necklaces, bracelets, and earrings. Wow.
Dhruva Maharaj, seeing that these uncommon personalities were direct servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, immediately stood up. But being puzzled, in hastiness, he forgot how to receive them in the proper way. Therefore, he simply offered obeisances with folded hands and chanted and glorified the holy names of the Lord.
I mean, how are you supposed to react to that?
Right.
I mean, right? Dhruva Maharaj was always absorbed in thinking about the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. His heart was full with Krishna. When the two confidential servants of the Supreme Lord, who were named Nanda and Sunanda,
Well,
approached him, smiling happily, Dhruva stood with folded hands, bowing humbly. They then addressed him as follows.
Nanda and Sunanda, the two confidential associates of Lord Vishnu, said, Dear King, let there be all good fortune unto you. Please attentively hear what we shall say. When you were only 5 years old, you underwent severe austerities, and you thereby greatly satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
We are representatives of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the creator of the whole universe, who carries in his hand the bow named Saranga. We have been specifically deputed to take you to the spiritual world. They're coming to get him.
To achieve Vishnu Loka is very difficult,
Mm.
but by your austerity you have conquered. Even the great rishis and demigods cannot achieve this position. Simply to see the supreme abode, the Vishnu planet, the sun and moon, and all the other planets, stars, lunar mansions, and solar systems are circumambulating it. Now please come. You are welcome to go there.
Wow.
This is that
Dear,
picture that we saw in the very beginning of the book.
yes, yes. Dear King Dhruva, neither your forefathers nor anyone else before you ever achieved such a transcendental planet. The planet known as Vishnu Loka, where Lord Vishnu personally resides, is the highest of all. It is worshipable by the inhabitants of all other planets within the universe. Please come with us and live there eternally. Ay, 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 sign me up. Come
Oh,
get
immortal one. Yeah. This
me.
unique airplane has been sent by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is worshipped by selected prayers and who is the chief of all living entities. You are quite worthy to board such a plane.
The great sage Maitreya continued, Maharaja Dhruva was very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When he heard the sweet speeches of the Lord's chief associates in the Vaikuntha planet, he immediately took his sacred bath, dressed himself with suitable ornaments, and performed his daily spiritual duties. Thereafter, he offered his respectful obeisances to the great sages present there and accepted their blessings. Yeah.
Before getting aboard, Dhruva Maharaj worshipped the airplane, circumambulating it, and also offered obeisances to the associates of Vishnu. In the meantime, he became as brilliant and illuminating as molten gold. He was thus completely prepared to board the transcendental plane.
I'm slightly curious about the translation of the word plane here, airplane.
Yeah.
What is the Sanskrit word? And this is probably Srila Prabhupada's best word that he could pick to convey to us what he's talking about. But I'm super curious about that. Okay. When Dhruva Maharaj, text 30, when Dhruva Maharaj was attempting to get on the transcendental plane, he saw death personified approach him. Not caring for death, however, he took advantage of the opportunity to put his feet on the head of death, and thus he got up on the airplane, which was as big as a house. Wow, he stepped on death's head and jumped in the airplane.
Yeah. At that time, drums and kettle drums resounded from the sky. The chief Gandharvas began to sing, and other demigods showered flowers like torrents of rain upon Dhruva Maharaj.
Dhruva was seated in the transcendental airplane, which was just about to start, when he remembered his poor mother, Suniti. He thought to himself, how shall I go alone to the Vaikuntha planet and leave behind my poor mother?
The great associates of Vaikuntha Loka, Nanda and Sunanda, could understand the mind of Dhruva Maharaj, and thus they showed him that his mother Suniti was going forward in another plane.
Nice. They picked her up too. While Dhruva Maharaj was passing through space, he gradually saw all the planets of the solar system, and on the path he saw all the demigods in their airplanes showering flowers upon him like rain. That is so cool. Just this picture of him just flying through space.
Yeah.
On this craft headed toward Vishnu.
Sprucey. Thank you. Dhruva Maharaj thus surpassed the 7 planetary systems of the great sages, who are known as Saptarsi. Beyond that region, he achieved the transcendental situation of permanent life in the planet where Lord Vishnu lives.
The self-effulgent Vaikuntha planets, by whose illumination alone all the illuminating planets within this material world give off reflected light, cannot be reached by those who are not merciful to other living entities. Only persons who constantly engage in welfare activities for other living entities can reach the Vaikuntha planets.
Wow. Persons who are peaceful, equipoised, cleansed and purified, and who know the art of pleasing all other living entities, keep friendship only with devotees of the Lord. They alone can very easily achieve the perfection of going back home, back to Godhead.
In this way, the fully Krishna conscious Dhruva Maharaj, the exalted son of Maharaja Uttanapada, attained the summit of the 3 statues of planetary system, the 3 statuses of planetary system.
Saint Maitreya continued, my dear Vidura, descendant of Kuru, as a herd of bulls circumambulates a central pole on their right side, all the luminaries within the universal sky unceasingly circumambulate the abode of Dhruva Maharaj with great force and speed.
After observing the glories of Dhruva Maharaj, the great sage Narada, playing his veena, went to the sacrificial area of the Princeps and very happily chanted the following 3 verses. Yes, let's go, Narada.
The great sage Narada said, simply by the influence of his spiritual advancement and powerful austerity, Dhruva Maharaj, the son of Suniti, who was devoted to her husband, acquired an exalted position not possible to attain even for the so-called Vedantists, or strict followers of the Vedic principles, not to speak of ordinary human beings.
You know, I feel like he actually sings this. Does he sing this? Is
Probably.
This a song? You know, it's like I wish.
Yes.
Like when you hear people read the Sanskrit, it is like a
has a cadence.
It does. It's like a song. So that's what I'm feeling in my head about this. The great sage Narada continued. Just see how Dhruva Maharaja, aggrieved at the harsh words of his stepmother, went into the forest at the age of only 5 years, and under my direction underwent austerity. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead is unconquerable, Dhruva Maharaj defeated him with specific qualifications possessed by the Lord's devotees. This reminds me of something I saw. It's on YouTube, and this Swami, his last name starts with an M, and I can't really say it. Anyway, he talked about how when you devote yourself to the Lord, he's bound by you in some ways.
Hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying? By like your love and devotion, he's promised
Right.
basically to, you know, bring you in. I don't know how else to say it, but like,
Yeah.
and that's, I think, what he's saying here, that he defeated him. It's not that he defeated him. It's just that because of his pure devotion, Vishnu could do nothing
He
but,
couldn't unsee him.
yeah, right.
That's a good point. I like that perspective. Text 43. Dhruva Maharaj attained an exalted position at the age of only 5 or 6 years, after undergoing austerity for 6 months. Alas, a great Satriya could not achieve such a position even after undergoing austerities for many, many years.
The great sage Maitreya continued, "My dear Vidura, whenever you have asked from me about the great reputation and character of Dhruva Maharaj, I have explained it to you in detail. Great saintly persons and devotees very much like to hear about Dhruva Maharaj." Yeah, because
Yeah,
he's like amazing. Of course we
yeah.
do. Yes.
By hearing the narration of Dhruva Maharaj, one can fulfill desires for wealth, reputation, and increased duration of life. It is so auspicious that one can even go to a heavenly planet or attain Dhruva which was achieved by Dhruva Maharaj, just by hearing about him.
Mm.
The demigods also become pleased because this narration is so glorious and it is so powerful that it can counteract all results of one's sinful actions.
I accept. I accept.
I'm
I
reborn.
accept. I accept. Anyone who hears the narration of Dhruva Maharaja and who repeatedly tries with faith and devotion to understand his pure character attains the pure devotional platform and executes pure devotional service. By such activities, one can diminish the threefold miserable conditions of material life. Mm.
Anyone who hears this narration of Dhruva Maharaj acquires exalted qualities like him. For anyone who desires greatness, prowess, or influence, here's the process by which to acquire them. And for thoughtful men who want adoration, here's the proper means.
Wow. The great sage Maitreya recommended one should chant of the character and activities of Dhruva Maharaj both in the morning and in the evening, with great attention and care in a society of Brahmins or other twice-born persons.
Hmm.
Mm.
Persons who have completely taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord should recite this narration of Dhruva Maharaj without taking remuneration. Specifically, recitation is recommended in the full moon or dark moon day, on the
Ah.
day after Ekadasi, on the appearance of Shravana star at the end of a particular Titi, or the occasion of Vyatipati at the end of the month or on Sunday. Such recitations should of course be performed before a favorable audience. When recitation is performed in this way, without professional motive, the reciter and audience become perfect.
Okay. There's a lot in that.
That was a
That
lot.
there was a lot in that. Okay. Text 51. The narration of Dhruva Maharaja is sublime knowledge for the attainment of immortality. Persons unaware of the absolute truth can be led on the path of truth. Those who, out of transcendental kindness, take on the responsibility of becoming master protectors of the poor living entities automatically gain the interest and blessings of the demigods.
Spruce agrees. Over here. I'm almost done, buddy. He's trying to get my attention with all his force. Text 52. The transcendental activities of Dhruva Maharaj are well known all over the world. And
He
they,
agrees. Brucey's like, yes, he's here for this.
yes, and they are very pure. In childhood, Dhruva Maharaj rejected all kinds of toys and playthings, left the protection of his mother, and seriously took shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu. My dear Vidura, I therefore conclude this narration, for I have described to you all of its details.
Ah, beautiful. And that is the end of chapter 12. Ay, ay, ay. You know, Sprucey heard that whole thing. So I feel like that's like what we were talking about before about him listening to this. So it's so interesting that he's like popping up and trying to like bark and get your attention at the very end of this.
I know.
He's literally all of us again right now.
Yeah.
Um, wow, that was so good. You know, we started out saying at the very beginning, like how transformational this has been and how it really has helped us gain perspective over things. And this is again another chapter that really illustrates. I really love everything it was saying about just dealing with anger, dealing with the life,
Yeah.
the human life that we have to live, where we experience all these things that feel like injustice. They feel like it's coming after us. Sometimes life is just not good to us, it feels like. But this just reminds me literally everything is for us. And
Everything.
everything that comes to us is meant for ultimately us to be able to surrender and, you know, acknowledge the supreme, the divine. Um, and I'm here for it. I'm here for
Maybe
it.
all find peace in knowing that we're all connected.
Yeah.
That the Supreme Lord is literally situated in
Mm.
everyone's heart.
I'm so grateful for this. Ay, ay, ay. So grateful. Well, thank you so much. I know you got to go to work, Sames, and let's wrap this up. Thank you so much for listening, dear ones. Thank you so much for all of your kind, lovely comments and likes and follows and all the things. So, with that, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. See you next time.
Hare Krishna. Until next time.
Ah, so good.
Always.